Okay, so this is just for the 10As because we didn't get quite through all this stuff. So we need to get through just a few screens of notes here. This is where we left off. So I think right here. Okay, so pace of speciation. So we have gradualism. This is something we talked about before, just briefly. So you can have a change in, can have speciation that occurs as a result of a number of really minute changes over a really long time, kind of moving a species in a particular direction over the many generations. On the other hand, you can also have punctuated equilibrium, where you have long periods of time where the species doesn't change at all, and then some kind of a major thing happens and there's a drastic change. That would be more like what happened with the peppered moths, going from primarily light colored to dark colored because of the short-term effect of all that pollution covering the oak tree trunks. So those are the two types of pace of speciation. And it's supported by the fossil record of some species. It's more likely to occur if small population becomes isolated, or population migrates, or if there's a mass extinction, when you're going to have that more drastic change. Okay, and then the last couple things we have to talk about on this are divergent evolution and divergent. What I want you to do is I want you to highlight or circle or something homologous structures. In divergent evolution, it means that they start here and they branch out. And because they branch from a common ancestor, there may be traits in each of these groups that maintain some semblance of similarity. For example, that bone structure in the forelimb of a bat and a whale and a cat and a human, and all of those things having the kind of the same type of bone structure. And it accounts for most of the diversity seen in living things. So it is indicative of common ancestry. So common ancestor, homologous structures, divergent. On the other hand, it can be driven, organisms can be driven to have convergence. If a particular characteristic is advantageous, it might be that they end up, these two very disparate species can end up maybe having a trait that's alike. So in that case, it's doing this. Okay, divergent, we took common ancestry and it branched into these different organisms and species. Here we have two very different species and it's moving the other way because of the environment. It's causing them to have characteristics that end up being similar, like a bird's wing and a bat's wing. Structurally, they're nothing alike. Historically or ancestrally, they didn't come from the same thing, but because the ability to move in flight is advantageous, they both ended up having wings that allow them to do just that. Aquatic organisms, having webbed appendages and all that kind of thing. And here, the thing to highlight or circle is analogous. Analogous means they're using them for the same thing, but they're in no way similar in structure or origin. And also, it does not involve common ancestry. Does not involve common ancestry. Okay? Excuse me. So an example of that would be these two birds. This is a western meadowlark, or meadowlark anyway, that's the state bird of Nebraska. And this is kind of I don't remember, it's called a long-footed something. Anyway, it's in Africa. And these birds are in no way closely related if you were to analyze their DNA. But obviously their coloration ended up being very, very similar in vastly different places. So that would be an example of convergent evolution. Evidently, in the areas where they live, it was advantageous to have this kind of coloration in both cases. And so they were driven to that. That's convergent evolution. Their coloration is analogous and not homologous. Okay,